Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 34 of Two Guys, Zero Planners. Before we go to the ad read here, Urban, is it right for me to be saying that now?
Well, depends. I mean, if you want to be a politician, then sure. Zero planners. You can always find a way around it, right?
Wow, you just lumped me in with the politicians. I'm almost disappointed, but you know what's not disappointing? Pen Chalet. And listeners of Two Guys, Zero Planners can head over to Pen Chalet and click that radio podcast link at the top of the page and enter Two Guys for 10% off site-wide to add to the already awesome experience of getting free shipping in the US on orders over $50. And honestly, the shipping from Pen Chalet is so fast that I've gotten things in like 2 or 3 days without even having to worry about it. So, it's one of those things. If I know I need something and I know I need it in a few days and I don't want to pay an arm and 50 legs for it, which where I would get the 50 legs, I have no idea. But still, I go to penchalet.com and you should too. Back to that planner thing, though. So listeners haven't listened to episode 33 yet. Well, or they're probably just listening to it and then realizing that this episode's coming out literally 3 days after. It's a new year, and with it being a new year, I decided that I wanted to try something completely new, and that was to take all the different projects in my head and put them on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Paper with Japanese writing around the edge that I can't read without Google Translate.
Yeah, but I mean, at least they're numbers, right?
At least they're numbered. Some of the sayings that are on each day are pretty deep, man.
So you can not only do that, but also learn Japanese.
Yeah, so I probably just created another project for myself.
So maybe you should also tell the listeners which planner you got.
Yeah, I probably should. So I went ahead and got the Hobonichi Techo in the A6.
Yes.
And because I'm not a Philistine, I decided to go ahead and go with a Monday start to the week. Yeah, I mean, it just feels right. I've always liked Monday to be the start of a week.
As it is in many countries.
The way I kind of look at the planner here, I'm not going to sit there and go through and like literally plan everything out to a T. Now, for today's recording, because we bumped it up a day, yeah, I put it on the planner so I wouldn't forget because I had some other stuff. I knew I was going to be looking at it to keep track of a few things I've got going.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like I'm sitting there going, I have a doctor's appointment on the 17th at 8:40 in the morning. I'm not going to write that in there because I'm going to get the reminder on my phone from my doctor's office.
Yeah.
That's more just to delineate projects. That way I'm not trying to keep track of Dungeons and Dragons, podcast, other podcast, YouTube, and a few black boxes that I'm working on.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of why it never worked for me because I don't really have things that I need to plan that are just for me with dates on them, right? Stuff for work that needs to be online because my colleagues need to know about it as well. And then there's the family stuff where we have a calendar with my wife where everything has to go in. And she, of course, also needs to know about my work stuff. So it just doesn't make sense to have a planner with dates in it, actually.
I mean, we've got such a strict clean desk policy where I work that anything work-related cannot be written down. And it cannot be taken outside the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, actually, the only place where we can access anything work-related is literally our scheduling program, just in case we want to schedule vacation or anything like that. We can access that from home, but that's kind of it.
I don't have any such restrictions. I just have a contract that says I shouldn't, I don't know, it's my responsibility to not, I don't know, leak stuff.
That is definitely, I prefer companies that are able to have an honor system like that. But once you hit a company of a certain size, it kind of makes sense that you can't rely on the honor system to take care of your multiple tens of thousands, if not a couple 100,000 employees.
Yeah, we are 25, so it's a bit of a different scale. That's true.
Just a little by a couple. Wow, I totally forgot what that term is.
Magnitude.
Yes, orders of magnitude. See, and this is the other reason I went ahead and got the Techo, because stuff like that happens a little too often because I've got so many things running around in my head just trying to keep track of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily what I'm going to do next with those projects. It's what I've already done or what the goal is for that project for today. I'm not planning on tomorrow's YouTube review yet because other than knowing what product I'm doing, I still have to use it a little bit more and write the script for it. That's just something I'm keeping in my head. I'm not going to write it on paper. But when I do it and it's done, I'll put that milestone in there. That way I can look back and go, okay, this is how long it took me to do this particular task.
Okay. So it's more about tracking what you've done and looking at it again. Okay.
Yeah, it's more of time tracking than time planning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I could have gone through and used a Cortex theme system or whatever CGP Grey and Mike are calling it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Cortex theme system. I wanted something a little bit more traditional, and planners have always had that this is tradition, you will do this kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Techo has very nice paper.
Yeah, that it certainly does. Yeah. Yeah, I've used one for journaling for almost a year, I think. Sort of. That's how I started with journaling, with the tiny A6 one, and it's sort of stuck. I don't know. I don't know quite why, but yeah, that's the first time I actually started to journal regularly. So yeah, it's a nice notebook. It just, yeah, for actual planning, that's nothing I could use really.
Exactly. Now, you went with the A6 when you started. What was kind of the reason for that?
I don't know. Everyone said how great it was. And then I thought, yes, one page of A6 I can write a page of A6 every day in my journal. So it's sort of an easy task to get started.
Okay. Well, I mean, that kind of makes sense. For me, it was more of I carry my camera bag everywhere with me. And I had one slot in my camera bag that was about the width of an A6.
Mm-hmm.
So I could either get an A6 tall boy or just a standard A6. And so I went with the standard A6 and I was like, yay, it fits perfectly. The things I do for a camera bag. But it's I don't know, it's kind of I'm trying to think if I can actually like take some pictures and put them in the show notes. Yeah, I can. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and because I've had some people ask me, okay, what are you actually using this thing for?
So, in summary, it's not really a planner. So the title is still true.
You know, that's actually a good way. That's actually a really good way to look at it. Yeah, that'll actually work. So I can go ahead and yeah, there we go. I can take that page too. Because this page shows kind of a plan to it, but not so much. So I'll go ahead and get those posted to Instagram really quick so we can go ahead and put those in the show notes.
Cool.
It just makes life so much easier posting this stuff to Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go. That way you can kind of see, like, what's going on there. The stuff I've actually got written for the beginning of January, I kind of don't want people to see at the moment because it's more thoughts and ideas for Dungeons & Dragons racial subclass that I'm creating.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the people that I game with and help beta test things actually listen to the show, so I don't want them to hear what I'm brainstorming at the moment.
Yep. Sounds good.
Because some of the stuff is broken. Massively broken. I feel much better, so we've decided that we can keep the show name.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I continue to use it more like a milestone and project book more than an actual planner.
Yeah, or if you just don't tell me, that's also fine.
I guess that works. I guess we could go with that. So let's go ahead and circle back around to the top of the show notes since I kind of derailed us with my existential crisis here. You've got some pencil stuff right off the bat?
Yes, so I spent a week in Berlin for work, and there's a small stationery store that has all the fancy things, like all the Japanese notebooks and many pencils and washi tape and traveler's notebook stuff, and sort of a high-end selection. And there's this one sharpener by a German company called so Kunststoff und Metall, so plastic and metal, so a very German name. Just take whatever materials you use to make your stuff and come up with an acronym, which produces a really, really sharp point. So it's really, really sort of low angle, and that is sort of one of the sharpeners that everyone raves about in the community. And I got that one and a pencil to go with it because I hadn't taken one with me there. Yeah, and it is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't yet know how I feel about using pencils that are. Well, you sort of have to grip them really far back because you don't want to grip where the sort of the wood is already sharpened, sort of cut down a bit. Yeah, I don't know yet if I like it or not, but it is fun.
You don't like gripping down on the shaved wood portion of a pencil?
Yeah.
I always find that to be a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, but then it's even thinner. I don't know.
I may have to pick up a masterpiece.
Yeah, they're kind of expensive though. Around, I think I paid 17 euros for one.
What's that in freedom units?
I don't know what they go for in the US. Certainly at least $20.
Oh, that would make a little bit of sense. I think the first time I had actually heard of these sharpeners was on BYOB Pen Club, and I think it was Sarah that was talking about them.
Could be.
I don't remember who our guest or guests were that week, but I know we had a lot of pencil talk. I think I pretty much just sat back and sipped on my scotch the entire recording.
Yeah, I'm also not entirely sure how I feel about pencils, but I keep buying them.
The one thing I don't like about pencils, and maybe it's just me, when I'm writing, because of how I angle my hand, I always end up getting graphite all over, like, the base of my hand. And that annoys me so much because then I don't realize it. And I go to do something, and then I've got a gray streak wherever I just set my hand.
I don't use them as often as I use my fountain pens, but yeah, we'll see. Sometimes it is nice to basically write and then you can close your notebook instead of having to wait for the ink to dry.
I could see the appeal there. I'm not gonna deny that. I don't know. That's one where the con almost outweighs the good to me. Yeah. Maybe it's just because I'm weird. Huh. Wow, Google Translate is freaking out on the picture of the pencil box.
Yeah, that pencil box is amazing because like the design is really cool. I think the pencils are fine, but the box is really cool, I think.
I was about to say the box, I like the retro feel of the box.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that looks like what you would see in the 1950s or something on automobile literature.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's just something about 1950s automotive culture that really appeals to me. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it was because they were trying to power cars with nuclear fission or something like that, but hey. But yeah, Google Translate just translated that stuff underneath Mitsubishi as Mitsubishi pencil brush.
I don't know. Not quite.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything brush-like about that. I thought Google was supposed to be good at this stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, those are probably rather specialized terms anyway. So that's hard always, I think.
Probably. So, like, what was it in particular? Was it literally just the packaging that brought you to this particular set of pencils?
Yeah, and they were like, I think, €5 for a dozen or so. And they were, I like those Japanese pencils. So most of my pencils are actually Japanese. And yeah, there were ones that I didn't have yet. And they were cheap, basically.
Oh, okay. So it was like $5.50 for it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think they're not lacquered. All my other pencils also have a finishing, and they don't. So I thought, why not try that as well?
Oh my goodness, that lacquer finish is so freaking annoying.
Depends.
That's why I always grip down on the wood.
Okay.
I like having a little bit more of a feedback in the grip section. So, like some of the pens that have a little bit of knurling on the actual grip section, I love that. And that's like always why I gripped down. Like, I used to play golf a lot too. And you know those small, tiny golf pencils
Mm-hmm.
where you've got no wood to grip onto except for like the lacquered finish? I would take one of my golf tees and I would just keep scraping the side of the pencil so I had something comfortable to grip when I was writing. Or else it would just consume me and I would mess up every stroke. Like I would touch the pencil and I would just be focusing on the pencil and I wouldn't make good contact with the ball because I'm a horrible golfer and I let something like that get in the way.
Okay.
That's the only sports analogy I can give. So people, please don't ever ask sports questions. That would be horrible. If you did, I wouldn't be able to answer them.
Yeah, neither would I. Yeah.
Aside from pencil talk, though, how do you like your pen?
Yes, it finally arrived. Your Herbert Penco pen. I forget what's the model. The fan, I think. Right?
Yes, the fan.
Yes. Yeah. So I already inked it up and written it dry again. So it does look really, really beautiful with all this very fine glitter or whatever that is in the material. That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So almost at the same time, I had this Franklin Christoph Pocket 66 on loan. Yeah, in comparison to that pen, sort of, it feels a bit cheaply made, I must say.
Which of the two feels cheaply made, the Herbert or the Franklin?
The Herbert Penco. Somehow, I don't know, maybe because it's a bit lighter, I can't quite tell. Maybe I'm not sure what it is. But if I didn't have that pen to compare it to, I mean, it is a nice pen, and I'm going to keep it.
Well, you did hit the nail right on the head on one thing. Compared to every other pen I've used, except for the Franklin Christoph 45 that I tried, that pen is super light.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it kind of at sometimes felt uncomfortably light.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm glad you like it. The included pen rest was also kind of an interesting thing. Yeah. So how off topic was the letter? I forgot what was in it.
I don't remember. I read it, but I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that by the time I actually sent it to you, everything I had talked about in the letter we covered on the podcast or just talking to each other.
It could be, yeah. I think at least a lot we did, yeah.
Well, I'm glad it got there safe.
Oh, and of course the ink. So the bottle of Oran Klinger Alt Goldgrün. That's also a pretty ink, I think. I really like it.
Well, okay. If you like that, let's get your thoughts on something here really quick then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this video is not this week's video, but it's next week's video. Okay. Take a look at that really quick. And skip forward to the writing sample.
Yeah, that's a nice ink as well.
I think it's better than Alt Goldgrün.
I don't know. I think they're different enough that I could see myself owning both.
I do think they're different enough, but remember the one thing I said I didn't like about Alt Goldgrün, how it was a little too gold for my taste and not enough green?
Yeah, that's true. That one is greener.
Mm-hmm.
But I do enjoy inks that are really light, so you lose that a bit.
So the fun thing is, the only reason I even picked this ink up, one, was because of the name, and
Sure.
two, because I had just gotten rid of a gold green, and I wanted to see if a gold green would actually be decent if I went with a different company.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of thank Alt Goldgrün for giving me the idea. Although I wonder if I'm going to lose any subscribers or subscribblers, I should say, to the channel when they get to the final thoughts moment. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to.
Yeah, that's a story for another time. We'll see if my subscriber rate just completely plummets at that point. And I guess I'm just going to keep using that term, subscriber works.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
So before we get to the thing that we don't have a link for, and no, audience, I'm not going to tell you which ink I'm talking about. You can watch the YouTube video when it comes live. Yeah, before we get to the thing, though, that has no link attached to it, your collection from 3 years ago.
3 years ago, I had barely started. So I think I got my first Twisby Eco sometime in November, maybe. Yeah. On that picture, there's 4 pens. I don't know, 3 pads of paper. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bottles of ink, 6 samples, and 2 packs of cartridges. And I'm saying something about ink for a lifetime.
I was about to say, that's the part that makes me laugh. Ink for a lifetime.
Well, I mean, I think I've finished 1 of those bottles, which is I don't know. I guess for 3 years, that's actually an achievement. Given that I now own 285 inks.
Not just own 285 inks, but have created a website to help others keep track of their collections.
Or let's say help me keep track of my collection.
I mean, technically, you are a professional ink librarian because people pay you to keep track of their inks.
They sort of do, yeah. They pay me in money and in ink samples, basically, yeah. I've now, well, I bought my ink samples in as, I don't know how many, 100 sample vials, and I've gone through them, so I've sent out more than 100 sample vials in those 3 years already.
I thought that I was going to stick with 10, maybe 12 inks. And I'd be good because they'd be waterproof inks. Yeah, that's not happening.
No, that's not really not happening.
Well, I mean, now that I do reviews, I really can't just stop. I mean, I could, but then what would I review?
Yeah, you basically have no choice, yeah.
Yeah, and then the name The Inktwell wouldn't really make sense. I mean, I guess I could get a new tattoo every week. That would get expensive, though.
You can switch to reviewing coffee.
I think I'm just about ready to review this coffee that I got last time around. I wanted to go through a whole bag of it first to kind of get a complete idea for the flavor. And I think I finally have it nailed down, so there will be another coffee review coming up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I just have to get through it. So let's see. We've got Parker, some Diamine. What's that bottle of Lamy ink?
That's Lamy Black. They also come in 30 ml bottles. So they are similar to those 50 ml bottles with the well at the bottom. They just don't have the blotting paper. And of course, they're a bit smaller.
Ah, the world of photo filters. The good faded retro look.
Yes, of course.
Wait, was that actually a filter or was that the film that you were using?
No, that was a digital photo.
Oh, okay, because if you go to the very next picture, it's some Fujifilm Superia Extra. Oh, wow. 400 ISO film. Okay. Wow. Okay, I'm going to click off of that before I start looking at more photos. Man, you, sir, are a good photographer when you want to be.
Yes, and when I don't have a crappy camera with me.
Sometimes the retro cameras are where it's at.
Yeah, I meant my phone, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Agreed. But before this podcast becomes Two Guys, Zero Shutters, let's go ahead and talk about why you're setting yourself up for failure in 2020, my friend.
Yeah. So we already talked about me owning so much ink, and I haven't even used half of it, even once in a pen. I mean, it's not that bad because most of it is actually samples, but still, it's almost 150 inks that I haven't even tried in my collection. And then I have, I don't know, somewhere between 60 and 70 pens, and I don't know, a shelf full of paper. And somehow, at least at this point, no real desire to buy anything new. I thought, why not try, and instead of trying to find anything I could actually buy, instead just use what I have. Have enough pens and I have enough ink that I probably can spend the whole year just trying out all the inks without repeating myself. So I'm sort of thinking about not buying stuff next year, and instead of that, just using what I have. And I also don't enjoy having so many pens inked at a time. Right now it's maybe 10 or so, and then I in the end just use one and then ink it up again, and the others are left there. So I thought maybe I should drastically cut this down as well, and maybe even have just one pen inked. And yeah, so I've set myself those two goals. They are pretty hard, and I'm sure I will fail. It's just a question how long I can make it, actually.
My recommendation would be take baby steps and taper down to where you've got the 1-to-1 going. So like you said, you've got 10 currently inked up. So for January, keep it at 10. In February, drop it to 9. And then by the time you hit September, you're like, wait, why was this hard to get down to 1 in the first place?
Yeah.
That way you're just slowly mentally training yourself to, instead of reaching for different color inks because you've got different color inks and different pens, you've just mentally trained yourself, okay, this is the ink I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to use it till I either dump it and ink up a different color or write through the converter or cartridge or whatever the case.
Yeah, that's sort of what I will end up doing anyway, because there's so many eyedroppers, so it might actually take me until September to write them all dry. I don't know. It's probably not that bad, but yeah. Somehow there's a lot of eyedroppers and piston fillers, so it will take me a while to even write the pens dry that I have inked currently. So let's see.
You know what we ought to do?
Hmm?
Listener questions.
Yes.
So the first one, I don't really think we're going to answer it necessarily, but we're going to cover it anyways because...
Yeah, because it's not true.
Well, when I purchased the planner, I made kind of a tongue-in-cheek post on the Slack about breaking news, which the amount of emojis that a certain co-host of mine put underneath that post was hilarious.
Yes, I went through the whole list and tried to find the ones that fit.
Well, and then the stuff that other people added to it just made it funnier. I mean, I'm sitting there looking at all of them. Like 8 people were shocked. 4 people gave me a thumbs down. The poop emoji, I'm still trying to... Yeah. No. Just no.
The volcano was nice, I think.
The volcano was very nice. You and Matthew had good choices there. But yeah, when I did that post, I also went ahead and a couple days ago, I went ahead and posted to Instagram. Actually, no, it was yesterday. Hey, we're getting ready to record. Ask a question. And Rescue Monkey, our favorite rescue monkey of all monkeys, asked what he normally does, which is something kind of tongue-in-cheek and something overly philosophical for a podcast about stationery. So we're going to take it on. So, why did I break down and get a planner? Well, if you look at the picture of the planner that's in the show notes, as we record this, tomorrow is my 34th birthday. That's not necessarily old. I don't have a family, so I'm not losing my mind because of children. But I have way too many irons in the fire, and a lot of them are just, like I was saying earlier, a lot of them require a lot of mental bandwidth that I am finding that I don't have. And I hate putting this stuff on digital.
All right. And now to the important question. Why can we not divide by 0?
It's not that you can't. It's that if you try to perform the operation of dividing by 0, you never finish the operation. So one of the things that, well, it's not really a good example, so I know people are going to complain about it, but I'm going to use it anyways for a second and then come up with a better one. So dividing by 0 is truly infinite. Kind of like how we assume that pi has infinite digits after the point. Okay, we're fine with that. So the reason our electronics error out when we try to divide by 0 is because your calculator sits there and goes, I can't complete this operation.
Mm-hmm.
There's no repeat. And in certain mathematical operations, like trying to find the square root of 2, where you're going to have the repeating digits, or you're going to have thousands of strands of post-decimal point numbers, the calculator can sit there and go, okay, I'm going to get a new result each time. But when you're dividing by 0, the calculator is sitting there going, I'm getting the initial result, which is not a result. So I need to do the operation again because I haven't completed my operation. And so that's why you can't divide by 0, because it's an endless operation. It just loops back around to infinity. There's a great number file video on YouTube. We definitely need to put in the show notes for this because it does a great job explaining dividing by 0 and why electronics freak out when you try to do it.
Yeah, and that's why electronics basically just don't do it and error instead.
Exactly. And I mean, if you want to be a human calculator and divide by 0, have fun. We'll come back around in a few years while you're still working through that order of operations. So, yeah, there's that. Now, this one is one from Carissa, who tends to ask a lot of good questions that we have stockpiled for eternity.
Yeah.
So what non-stationary affiliated designer, firm, or company would you actually like to see try creating a fountain pen or anything stationary for that matter? So they've never touched stationery and you want them to touch stationery.
I'd prefer them to not do it on their own, basically. I don't know. I mean, there's basically no new designs anymore. You can only riff on existing things because there's only a certain way a pen can look. And I'd prefer them to actually sort of partner with one of the existing companies that actually know what they're doing. Because in the end, the difficult part is to make sure that the nib's right all the time. And that seems to be the issue with a lot of Kickstarter projects, I'd say. That you can't really replace. I mean, there you can't really replace the experience, right? So I don't have any company really in mind that I want them to design something, but whatever company does it should partner up with an existing stationery company that knows what it's doing.
So pretty much like Pineider, Visconti, those brands are automatically out. I mean, first things first, Pineider, we've discussed how some of the designs from them are just like, seriously, guys? Seriously? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they write.
Right, and that's an assumption that we have to make because it's like I'm not gonna drop that kind of money to take a chance on then potentially having to send it to a Nibmeister to fix it. So, companies that don't do stationery that I would like to see do stationery. That's actually a difficult question. The outrageous out there answer would be Tesla.
Are they going to make a pen that looks like it came out of a computer game?
I would like to see that, or a pen that is actually a pocket flamethrower.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there was ever going to be a company that created the kind of pen weapons that you saw in James Bond, it would be Tesla. Elon is kind of a crazy guy.
That is true, yeah. But they would sort of not really work when he tries to demonstrate them, of course.
Right. Although, I don't know. I wonder what would happen if we put Bach under his control. I wonder if the quality control would actually get decent to the point where you could count on a Bach nib to write right out of the box. Huh. See, these are the thoughts that keep me awake at night.
Yeah.
And this is why we stockpile Carissa's questions, because we get quite a few of these that are like really thought-provoking. As far as the non-out there answer, my brain has to kick back in. I had the answer in my head, and now I'm having to remember the answer. Oh boy. All I've had this morning, people, is coffee. So there you go.
Starbucks.
Oh, heck no.
A Platinum 3776 with Starbucks, with a Starbucks nib.
No, because then I would want to, like, I would never use that pen for more than just stirring my coffee.
Of course.
That's the only reason we can't do that.
Mm.
Actually, okay. Nike. Not the like football, soccer, baseball portion of Nike, but the golf portion of Nike.
Huh. Is there such a thing? Didn't even know.
They actually make some real high-end golf balls and golf clubs. Like, one of my favorite sets of golf clubs I ever built for myself was a set of Nike clubs.
Okay.
Like, the amount of backspin I could get on, like, my 7-iron through loft wedge was just insane. I don't know what they did with the groove pattern, but Nike, you do you. But I would like to see them do stationary, because I think that they would actually be able to create a product from the ground up, and like probably even the nib. I think a company with big pockets like Nike would actually be able to do it and do it well.
Yeah.
And then you could go to the store and pick up a $400 fountain pen and know that when you pull it out of the box and ink it up, it's going to write, because it's going to just do it.
Okay.
I had to work that in somewhere. I mean, I know it was a long lead up, but I think the payoff was totally worth it.
Yes, I guess so, yeah.
So I think we're going to skip the first part of the pen places question strictly because I haven't actually looked at the Inkvent inks.
Yeah, neither have I. I participated in the Slack ink event where we sent each other sort of 12 samples. And that was fun. Also because I got 17 samples and a few pencils. But I really haven't looked at the ink vent. It's just, what do I do with another 25 inks?
Now, I mean, okay, I think we've actually... Does Mike have all of them here?
I think he should have.
He's got the first 10 days posted on Instagram.
I mean, he has a video on all of them.
I've been saving them up because they've been hitting my feed every day, and then I see something from like Linus Tech Tips or MKBHD, and then I get lost watching that, and then I watch some Critical Role, and I forget to come back to Ink Dependence. Sorry, Mike. I promise you and Fig Boot are my favorite YouTube pen people other than myself, because I have to put myself in there somewhere.
Yeah, so the actual question, maybe we should mention it, was which of those Inkvet inks we would like to see Diamine actually produce. Because they were, as far as I know, strictly limited to the calendar itself.
Yeah. If I could find... Oh, okay. Inkaholic actually has one with all of them. Yeah. Let me go ahead and toss you the link. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and include this link in the show notes as well. That way we can at least talk about it like this. Okay, so if we go from left to right, top to bottom on this picture, I can already tell you which 3 are my favorite 3 just by looking at this angle. So literally the ink in the number 1 slot, because it's got that nice turquoise sea green look to it.
Yeah.
Fourth column down, fourth column over, fourth row down. So the tan sepia one, it reminds me of a light suede couch. Don't ask, but I like that color. And then literally the green right next to it. Those are my top 3.
Okay.
Yeah. If those 3 were turned into production, take my money for the 80 ml bottle, not the small bottle, the big one.
Yeah. I'm okay with them not producing any of them.
Strong feelings. Defend your statement.
Yeah, and I know, I'm sure there are similar inks out there, and I don't know. It's just the general feeling that I have so many inks at this point that I don't see the point right now to get more. I'm sure it will change again, but
okay, if someone was to get you those inks because they were turned into mainline productions, which ones would you get?
Okay, let's say the other green, so second row from top and second column.
Okay.
So that's nice.
That does have a nice military green look to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all. The other ones, not really.
Okay, that's not a bad choice. I will grant your choice is good. Yeah, just kind of one of those things. As I go ahead and also add the link for the Divide by Zero video. So there you go. That's part 1 of the question. Part 2 of the question, and this is probably a good one to end it with. Would you rather be attacked by 1,000 Lamy 2000 sized horses or 1 horse-sized Lamy 2000, assuming the Lamy 2000 is sentient?
How would it move? Is the question, of course.
Right.
Because I guess this heavily influences the answer.
Okay.
I mean, a levitating Lamy 2000 that can freely move around, that sounds pretty dangerous, I'd say, especially uncapped.
Well, let's go ahead and put Dungeons and Dragons rules into this really quick. So let's assume that the Lamy 2000 is a mimic. So definitely sentient, definitely out to kill you. And like, imagine a Lamy 2000 hopping around trying to like lunge at you nib first. Honestly, I would take the horse-sized Lamy 2000.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
It's much harder. But yeah, 1,000 is a lot, right? Yeah.
A 400 or 500 pound Lamy 2000 that is having to hop up and down towards me, I'm pretty sure I could stay ahead of it. And if it lunges at me nib first, all I have to do is like step behind a concrete wall or something, and then it bends the nib.
I don't know. Maybe it's loaded with poisonous ink or something.
Oh, there is that. Could you imagine 1,000 Lamy 2000 sized horses?
They're actually not that. That's not that small, right? Yeah, actually.
I mean, are they as tall as the? Are they proportional to the Lamy 2000? So are they as tall as the diameter and as long as the length of the pen?
Yeah,
because that's an abnormal looking horse.
Yeah, that is true. Although the question is that good or bad when you have to fight it?
I honestly don't know. I would say it's... We'll have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to have rather strong muscles to sort of not snap in half, right? If it's that long and has legs at the back and the front.
Huh. See, now I'm going to be thinking about this. That's going to replace... I'm going to have to create a D&D race that is a Lamy 2000.
Yes, you do that.
That just completely ruined my thought processing for the day. Yay. Wow. Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. As always, it's been a pleasure. If you do have any questions for the show, we finally decided to go ahead and do something a little bit more uniform in collecting questions. So all you have to do is send an email to ask2g0p@gmail.com. For those that are privacy conscious, because I am too, we're not going to keep your email address. Honestly, you don't even have to send any information like that or anything like that. Once we get the question, I'm going to inbox zero that thing and it's going to be completely deleted. So your secrets are safe with the trash bin.
All right.
Yeah, so that's going to be in the show notes. That way you can go ahead and ask more questions like whether or not we want to have a showdown between 5,000 Mitsubishi pencil-sized somethings or something else. But till next week, well, not next week, but till next time, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.